Hello friends! I'm up in my treehouse and I got super inspired lately about shadow work. That's pretty much what I've been really diving into the last few years, and I'm really being guided to share my information about shadow work and how it's shifted my reality, and it's really healing. It's probably the most profound tool I've ever found on my journey thus far. And it continues to astound me how powerful this work is, and how more just whole and centered and balanced I feel now that I am diving into my shadow self and my shadow sides. So I'll get right into it. What is shadow work? Well, basically it's psychology. It's diving into your unconscious mind. It's looking at all your programming and your negative thought forms and the routines you're stuck in or being triggered all the time. It's about diving deep into your unconscious mind, meaning all those thoughts that are buried so far deep that you don't even remember why you react the way you do every time someone calls you something or looks at you a certain way, or even maybe cuts you off on the road. If you're extremely angry and triggered by little things, then you really need to do your shadow work. I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that every single being, human, should do shadow work, because we are both light and dark. And there's so many people on the spiritual journey who only focus on the light, the sun energy, the conscious. But it's both. We're both sun and moon energy. We're both light and dark. Just like the days have both light and dark. Hence the moon in the background. I'm super inspired by the dark. Dark meaning unconscious, unaware. Light means awareness. And it gives a really bad name to even the color black. Black is void, or how I see it is black is all the colors mixed together. Black is what's not created yet. So if you look at the sky or picture a void, it's space for something to be birthed into existence. So the color black, it's not just for goth tweens with spiked colors and heavy metal music. It's black, and dark is just another word for unconscious. So the whole point of doing shadow work is making your unconscious behaviors and patterns and programming and traumas conscious. Now, how do we do that? There are lots of ways, and it's endless how many different ways you can do shadow work. But first I'm going to explain where shadow work came from. Well, the term was coined by a Swiss psychiatrist by the name of Carl Jung. He was born in, I believe, 1875 and died in 1961. I'm not exactly sure on the dates, but around that time. He was a Leo, Aquarius rising. I'm super inspired by Carl Jung. He's one of my heroes. I've been obsessed with psychology for the last 10 years. It's part of my personal path, and my mission is to help heal the mind by healing my own mindset first. Because whatever you experience, your deep, dark traumas in this life, and you heal yourself, that's most likely what you're going to be great at healing in other people. Of course, no one can heal other people. They have to heal themselves. You just help them to heal themselves. So anytime anyone around me in my spiritual community says I'm a healer, that's when you should run, because chances are those people are just living in pure ego, because it's not really you doing the healing. You're assisting other people to heal themselves. So anyway, this is just another tool I've learned on my journey, my healing journey, that really helped to heal me, and it's probably my favorite tool I've ever found. And I've had every single kind of healing modality done to me, and a lot of it I learned myself. There's Reiki energy work, there's massage, there's cranial sacral, there's aromatherapy, there's aquatherapy, there's meditation, there's creative expression, there's so many different healing modalities. And a new one I discovered a few months ago, thanks to a friend, was network spinal analysis. That's another. I mean, there's so many amazing healing modalities out there, but I mean, there's hundreds I've experimented with. I mean, this is my journey, is I'm kind of an experimenter, and I've literally experimented on my own body of what healing modalities do what. And I've had so many different healings done on me, and just taking layer by layer of trauma, and not this life, but past life too. I mean, so many layers I've taken off. But again, shadow work has been the most profound tool thus far on my journey, and that's why I'm so inspired to make this video. But anyway, back to Carl Jung. So he was huge into psychology. He even bought a house in the middle of nowhere, like on a lake, so he could completely be with nature, because nature quiets the mind so you can listen to your heart. So he basically shut out all distractions and just studied, and he went to school for psychology, and he was amazing, and he worked with many different clients. But basically, he coined the term shadow work, along with many other terms we use still today, like aspects, persona, introvert, extrovert. There's many other ones I can't really remember right now, but he coined the term shadow work. And anyway, my life's work is hugely, greatly, just I'm thankful for hearing about him and learning about him on my journey. Thank you, Carl, wherever you are. Anyway, so I made a little list so I wouldn't get way off track, because I'm a talker, and I have just so much information in my stories and my world and my experiences where I tend to go a little off track. So anyway, back to... Let's go back into how do I make my unconscious patterns conscious? How do I become aware of what my shadows are? Now, this is a huge question. There are many ways. One of them, probably the easiest one to first get into, is dream interpretation. Literally, dreams are your unconscious mind communicating to your conscious mind. So basically, you're going to school every night. Your unconscious mind, which is connected to all that is, to source perspective. That's why many people have out-of-body experiences during, or lucid dreams during the dream state, because your subconscious mind is tapped in. It speaks to your conscious mind in symbols and metaphors and energy. It's kind of like being extremely psychic in your dream state. So when you wake up, it's flooding in so fast. There's so much information because you're getting energy, you're getting the story through symbols, through metaphors. And sometimes you have dreams that you're like, oh my God, that was disgusting. Why the hell did I dream about that? I would never do that. Ugh. Like I've been doing dream interpretation for the last 5 years, and what I've learned on my journey is right when you wake up in the morning, before you even open your eyes, just lay there and just focus on holding on to the information and reading it in your mind's eye, because as soon as you think a thought or start thinking about something else, that information and that story and the dreams float away. So how I see it is, when it starts floating away, when you're coming back into the conscious reality out of your dream state, I kind of picture it as a balloon floating away. And so I catch the balloon and I hold on to it, meaning I hold on to the information. And I kind of read it, or I go over in my head, I memorize what dreams I had the night before or early in the morning. And I have the intention of, right after I take a piss, I'm going to grab my notebook and write them down. Or, my new favorite, I'm going to record me speaking about my dreams. And this is a lot easier if you have so much information flooding in that you can't write as fast as the information's coming in. So it's really awesome to have a tape recorder right next to your bed before you even wake up, and just lay there with your eyes closed and speak into the recorder and go over your dreams. Replay them in your mind, relive them in your mind. And they don't have to make sense. Just say whatever images come, whatever energy you felt, whatever dream characters were in your dreams. A lot of the time it's ex-lovers because or people in your life, because they're symbolized as dream characters. It might not even be them. It's just an energy interpretation of what's going on, and we call them dream characters. So you could be yelling at your ex-boyfriend you dated 10 years ago, that you're like, why the hell did I dream about him? I haven't thought about him in years. It's his energy type and the energy of the situation. It's much deeper than just surface stuff. That's why dream interpretation is a really good initiation into diving deeper into meanings and into the psychic world. Because it's so much, the meanings of symbols and energy and metaphors are so much deeper than our human conscious minds can really comprehend when we're first decoding our own dreams. Now, of course, you can Google dream interpretation for me kicking a cow. What the hell does that mean? I really, though, recommend you meditate on what that means for you, because every single person is going to have a completely different dream interpretation of you kicking a cow. You're going to type in, what does me kicking a cow mean? And it's going to list 10 different things. A few of them are going to be similar, but even those similar ones will not be as authentic and correct as your own decoding of your own dream interpretation. So I always recommend you trusting your own inner guidance, because your inner guidance is right on all the time. All the information you ever need about your life and your journey, your past, your future, past lives even, future lives, it's all within you. The universe is within you. So go within and stop giving away your power to Google and psychic people, because you are psychic. It's already starting. I'm coughing. Okay, so that was the first way of making your unconscious patterns or traumas conscious. Now, again, you're going to see a pattern with your dreams. You're going to see a very similar energy, very similar dream characters. You're going to see a very similar underlying theme to your dreams, because it's something that the universe is trying to show you, that you're stuck, or you need to transcend this or heal this aspect of you that you're going through. And it always changes and shifts throughout our journey depending on what we're going through at the moment. And sometimes it takes years and years to get through a block. Sometimes it takes a week to get through a block. And that's kind of how I see it, is you're walking in your journey, and you meet certain people on your path, and then you meet a block. And then when you let go and allow that ego pattern to die and you to face that issue, you can transcend it. And then you're still walking on your journey, and then you meet another block and you're like, shit, I can't, and then you can't. And then sometimes you're stuck, like for years in this pattern. And I know exactly what that's like. I'm actually going through one right now. This is either like lifetimes of a very, very similar pattern I've been stuck in. Like a huge, huge pattern I've been stuck in my entire life. I'm just now really seeing it and really going, oh my God, this pattern I keep doing is really hindering my growth. So there's some times where we meet resistance and we don't know how to fight through the blocks. And shadow work is a tremendous way to even see what are my blocks. Because if you know what your unconscious patterns are, you have so much more power to fight through it, not even fight, but heal that block or that old aspect of you that's not even you, and have such a more balanced, healed life, and walk down your path with, bring it on! What's the next one? What's the next challenge? Bring it on. And you feel more confident about getting through the blocks. So anyway, dream interpretation was one of the ways to look at your unconscious patterns, your shadows. Another one, let's see, what did I write down? Art and creative expression. Now this is probably one of my favorites, because you get to channel that energy. Not only are you channeling it, and creating is good, because creating is literally, I feel like, the quickest way to connect with source energy. Because when you're drawing or painting or dancing or acting or singing or whatever, when you let yourself get out of the way, meaning when you let your higher self take over, your spirit, you let whatever creative energy flow through you, instead of listening to your ego. Oh, I have to do the dishes. Oh, I have to pay these bills. I have to go to work. I have to do this. I have to distract myself. I have to eat this crappy food, or I have to drink, or I have to smoke, or whatever. That's your ego trying to distract you from being with source energy. So creating, your being, and you're allowing that source energy to flow through you, because we are all tapped in. I don't care if you're a light worker or a bum. You have that ability to tap into source energy, because it's all right here, right now. So by being and allowing that creative force to flow through you, you can see what is in your subconscious mind. So if you're acting, for instance, and they give you a part, and in the part you have to play a really sad person, and now you realize, oh my God, when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to express sadness. Meaning, I was a little boy and I would cry all the time, and my dad would say, quit being a pussy. Only girls cry, quit being a pussy. So every time I cried, my father would remind me of what a pussy I was. So by the time I reached age 13, I stopped crying, and I told myself only pussies cry, so I shut that emotion off. So guess what you just did? You buried that emotion, you suppressed that emotion. So now, you're 33 and you got a part and you have to cry. All of a sudden there's going to be a block there. You're going to just be like, oh, why can't I cry? And then you're going to pretend to cry, and everyone's going to feel that that was pretend and that wasn't a powerful performance, because you're like, and everyone's like, oh my God, that was like the shittiest version of crying I've ever heard. That was like beyond the worst scene. This place sucks altogether, because that guy was like faking crying, and I didn't feel emotion at all, because people are way more intuitive and empathic than they give themselves credit. Because when you're watching a play or a movie and that actor is crying and there's snot coming out of their nose and they're like shaking and they're red and they're just bawling, you feel that emotion. That's why movies are so powerful. That's why the media is so powerful, and the higher ups, because they're using creative expression as a way to inspire but also program us. So there's the shadow, where we have this, see, there's light and dark in every single situation. So the media is really, really awesome at inspiring, which is great, which is light, and then it's also really, really good at programming, which is dark, which is unconscious. Anyway, so you get my point with acting is, all of a sudden he reaches this block and he's like, I want to be a better actor. How do I get through this block? And basically the acting coach says, well, it's kind of like therapy. Like, creative expression is therapy, because you're getting through the block. So he basically said, no, go back in your mind and remember a time where you weren't allowed to cry. And the 33-year-old guy goes, oh my God, I totally forgot. I totally suppressed this emotion of sadness because my father called me a pussy every single time I cried. Wow. So now he just made the unconscious patterns, and he goes, wow, that's why all my girlfriends break up with me, because they say I have no compassion or no empathy for them. Wow. So this huge light bulb just blasts off in his head, and he goes, holy fuck. by me suppressing that emotion, it's really caused a lot of harm and damage in my life, because you're not just suppressing an emotion, you are suppressing an aspect of your entire being. Now, for those of you who don't realize, we are multifaceted beings, and what that means is we have so many different aspects to our psyche and our being. We have so many different sub-personalities. So in reality, all of us are schizophrenia, because we have the sad Morgan, I have the angry Morgan, I have the bitchy Morgan, I have the I feel powerful Morgan, I have the singing Morgan, the artistic drawing Morgan, I have the lazy Morgan, the depressed Morgan, the suicidal Morgan. I mean, I have all of these different personalities. We are both light and dark. So for a spiritual teacher to be like, I'm all light and I'm going to channel ascended masters and blah, blah, blah. Well, I live with a lot of these people that do that, and they hide their shadows. So while they're on stage talking about how they channel Jesus and stuff like that, which they totally do, but to be a clear, here's the catch 101, to be the clearer channel, do your shadow work so you can be even more whole and balanced. Express those dark parts of you, because these people that are only claiming to be these light beings most likely are beating their children, they have severe anger problems, they're repressing and suppressing a lot of their deeper emotions, which are buried so far deep in their unconscious minds that it shows up. It's basically written on people's foreheads to me, the people that do not do shadow work. It's so obvious and apparent to people who have inner bullshit detectors like the Indigo generation and many other light workers or sensitive people or whatever you call us. You can't lie to us. And you cannot hide your shadow around me, especially because I do this work a lot. I do shadow work every single day for at least the last 3 years, and I love it. But anyway, off track again. Bad Morgan. Haha. Anyway, so creative expression. So another example of creative expression is I felt, for those of you who don't really understand about me and my personal journey, is just as empowering and happy and light and fairy I am, I also have an extreme dark side. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. Now, I come from a background of extreme trauma and abuse. Like many of us light workers chose this reality so we could learn this specific set of tools so we can heal ourselves and therefore heal others on our journey or assist people in their healing. I hate that. I'm going to heal you. I don't know. Anyway, so I have severe depression problems. I was diagnosed with bipolar, ADHD, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, I feel so much. Like all of us that are sensitive, it's really hard to, there's no way anyone can stay up all the time and be happy. If you are, there's something severely wrong with you and you're not expressing your dark sides, therefore you're repressing something, and it's may not manifest now, but it'll manifest later as an illness or nervous breakdown or something terrible if you don't express both your light and your dark emotions and aspects. So anyway, there's a lot of times where I feel super depressed, and what I do is I pick up my guitar and I sing about it. And I've been singing for a really long time. I just started learning guitar maybe like 6 months ago. I don't know that many chords, but just the fact that I'm being in the present moment with my darker emotions and I'm not trying to suppress them with drugs, alcohol, sex, cigarettes, food, whatever, and that's a whole other subject in itself, is how to feel your darker emotions without running away, because society teaches you the complete opposite. Society teaches you to suppress your emotions. Society teaches us that if we're not happy all the time, something's wrong with you, and you should go express your darker, you shouldn't express your darker aspects or your shadows or your darker emotions. See, kids are the perfect example of what a healthy, whole being is. They scream when they're angry. They cry bloody murder and punch things and they lay on the ground and kick their feet and throw things and punch things, and then guess what? 2 minutes later, they're bouncing and happy and they're great. They're great old self. And kids are a perfect example of how healthy that is. It's inner child work. I mean, shadow work is a lot like inner child work, because you're giving yourself permission to feel your authentic feelings, instead of saying, like me going to a grocery store and saying, hey, how's your day, to the clerk, and they're obviously they do not want to be there. They hate their jobs. They hate their life. This woman even had cuts all over her wrist, and I was like, oh, how are you doing? I was just trying to talk to her, and she's like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. And I'm like, and I even said that, I was like, no, it's not. What's bugging you? And she just starts bawling. So in reality, it's so healing to tell the world and to express how you really feel. She could have said, well, I feel like killing myself. And then I could have talked about that, instead of me having to call her out. And that's kind of what my personal mission is now, is I read people's energy and emotions so quickly. It's like, no, how are you really feeling? And I call them out, because people really need to express their authentic emotions. They need to, it doesn't just express, it lets that go. Why hold on to this? Let it go. So anyway, so I have a little list here. Another thing, how to make your unconscious patterns conscious, is being triggered. Now, being triggered means that it feels like someone put their finger in your wound, or they put salt in your wound. It's this pain that you feel. It's this deep sadness. It's basically a negative emotion that comes up as a result of somebody doing, saying, or a situation that occurs, something that you attract into your experience that causes a negative emotion. Now, negative and positive are both good in source perspective. In oneness perspective, both is needed for healing and integration and for learning. We're all here as humans to learn, and we're all here to experience black and white, yin and yang, light and dark, male, female, sun, moon. We are the contrast. We live in the third dimension, which is the world of duality. And dark and light, we are both needed as learning tools for your soul's expansion. So a trigger is a negative emotion that comes up for you with a situation. So for instance, say that I was horribly abused as a kid, like really just physically abused all the time, every single day growing up. And usually, by the way, shadows mainly are formed between the ages that you're first really learning about your cognitive abilities when you're a child. So anywhere from the age 2 to 7 are really, really, really precious, just really intense ways we learn as humans about what we can and cannot do, what we can express and what we can't express because of society. So a lot of shadows are formed between the ages of 2 and 7. Of course, you can develop shadows later on in life. It's endless. But a lot of them, the root issues where they were birthed, was from a very young age, because you're so fragile and so sensitive and so open and naive. You take in whatever your parents say or whatever someone you look up to says, because they're older than you and they have to know the truth. Right? Wrong. Not in this world. I kind of see this as every single thing in existence is ass backwards. And people that are on the path of healing are flipping everything back where it was supposed to, because everything we've ever learned was complete bullshit. Even the calendar. Anyway, okay, so back to being triggered. So again, say you were a child and you were very physically abused, and you never dealt with this abuse, and you were abused like every day by your mother. And then you go to school and you're like la la la, and you're just doing your own thing, you're drawing, and then this cheerleader, whoever, walks in the room and she's like, you're ugly. Now, because you have all this anger inside you from being abused, because the byproduct of abuse is you either internalize it and it's growing and festering inside of you, or you immediately let it go by beating someone else in your family or channeling it. And most of the time when you get that abuse over and over and over and over, you don't even have the time to continually let that emotion go. It's like your mother hit you once and then you feel this emotion. It's like you don't have time to release all that trauma if it's every single day. So anyway, say you have all this stored up, pent up trauma and anger. It's not even anger, it's rage because you're abused every day of your life. And then this girl's like, you're ugly. Either you're gonna be triggered, meaning you're gonna feel that negative emotion of anger or rage, and you're gonna internalize it even more, so you're gonna grow that anger monkey even more. Or it's already grown so much that you're just gonna flat out jump over the desk and beat the shit out of her because you've had enough in your life. So for me, when I was triggered, I started noticing, oh my god, I have anger problems because I was in school doing my own thing, or walking down the hall and some chick would be like, you're stupid, or whatever stupid comment that doesn't even matter. I would be like, I'm gonna kill you, and I would just literally just jump on her and start beating the shit out of her, and then get expelled like once a week. So I did great in school, not. So anyway, that's an example of being triggered, is somebody says something to you and you're negatively triggered. A negative emotion comes up. So now, let's look at me in the present life. If someone says, you're stupid. Now, because I've done a lot of my shadow work, I've done a lot of my old anger work, that I'm really peaceful inside, that I now know that that person is projecting their own pain onto me, and they don't actually think I'm stupid. They themselves think either they're stupid or they're just in pain and they need a garbage can to put all this negative emotion or abuse they felt in their life. And because people that are carrying around a lot of abuse and a lot of pain and suffering, they want to get rid of it. They don't want it. They don't want to treat people like shit, but they do, because they don't know what else to do. They themselves are hurting so badly that they want other people to feel their pain. So they're reactors. And there's, different kinds of people. There's just observers. You can observe other people yelling at you and not react to it. Or you can react back and be like, oh, you're stupid too. When all you're doing is throwing back. It's like they threw their angry, crappy energy at you, and now you just amplified it and threw it back at them even more. Now they're even more angry because you amplified the energy and threw it back to them. But in reality, a conscious relationship or a conscious interaction would be, if that person said I'm stupid, I would be like, I wouldn't take in that energy, I would deflect it. And I'd be like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I still love you. And that's when you know you're in a really good place. If you cannot react, because we're all really sensitive beings, and if someone throws that hate energy at you, oh, you feel it in your heart, and you want to just be like, oh, fuck you too. But what does that do? That's not being conscious. That's living in the reptilian mind. That's not living in the heart. And just understand that those people said you were stupid because they're hurting. Because if you were really peaceful inside yourself, you would never do any harm to another person. And words are powerful. That's energy. So regardless if they think they didn't hurt you, they just basically threw really shitty energy and slapped you in the face. And yeah, that hurt. So the trick is don't react to other people's unconscious behavior. If somebody cuts you off when you're driving and they say, and you react and you go, you cut me off. Just wait, just be like, it's okay, have a nice day. Or don't say anything, just keep driving and listen to your music, and who cares? It's only when we react to things that it escalates. We're here as the way showers to embody more light and love and to be more conscious and show the way, meaning having a more conscious awareness of our reality. And we have a choice, and that choice is to not react. Okay, so triggering, we are, just being a human, we're all going to experience being triggered because we have incarnated into situations with extreme trauma. All of us have had many, many, many different clients and people who are also on the path of healing. And what we all have in common is we're the black sheep of the family. We're older souls, therefore we've always felt like we were adopted. I always felt like I was from the stars. My situation was extremely painful and traumatic. Well, yeah, you chose on a soul level to pick one of the most profound, hardest lessons. Because think about how many times you've been incarnating on Earth. I mean, you've had probably millions of lifetimes, and not even on Earth, probably in other dimensions as a fairy. You were probably, an animal, a cockroach. I mean, our soul's always expanding, and it's always looking for oneness. Now, in this life, we're in like a master incarnation, meaning we're here to like master something. I believe as an old soul, I'm not going to incarnate here again. Not because I don't want to, but because I feel like on a soul level, I've done my work, and it's time to go back to source perspective. And I came here to help with the shift in consciousness, like thousands, maybe millions now, of all you other beings who came here, is to help with the shift, the ascension process. And that means to teach awareness, to teach going from the dark age, meaning lack of information. Again, there's the word dark. Unconscious meaning we've forgotten that we're always connected to source energy. We are God. We create our own reality. We came from source perspective. We are always evolving, and yes, there's life after death and many, many, many other reasons we came here to teach. And not teach by speaking, but walking your walk and talking your talk. So anyway, and my favorite, and I have to cut this video short. I can start a new one, but it's already getting late. My favorite is the mirror system. And what mirroring does is I want you to think about this theory. And it's called the holographic universe. And the theory is that we have the entire universe within ourselves. Every single human, every single sentient being has the universe within them. And when you really understand that, it's profound. So think of a video projector, a reel, and you have a whole bunch of different, what do they call them, little images, and you cut a piece of the image off the reel of the movie. God, what is it called? And you shine a light on that one little piece of the movie reel. Now it shows up this light, and then when you shine the light on the whole entire reel, it's got the same light. It's another, that was kind of confusing analogy, but it was another reason why we, as one being appearing separate, has the entire universe and reality within ourselves. And here's why I believe that. Is whatever's going on inside of you, your own universe, your own internal world, your external reality is a reflection of what's going on inside you. So I'm going to give you a few scenarios to think about. So think about back if you were, again, I'm going to go back to the violently, physically abused child. If your internal reality is abuse and pain from physical abuse, if you look around you and you've never healed that about you, chances are you're going to see a lot of angry people in your external reality. And I remember when I really realized that I had a lot of pain, that I was holding on to, was when I looked around me and literally everyone would be yelling. I'd look over at the car next to me and this guy would be screaming on the phone. Or I was waiting for the bus and this woman was screaming on her phone. And I saw people all the time in my external reality fighting and yelling, and the emotion was anger. And I started really to question myself is, why do I keep manifesting in my external reality people that are angry? Why? Because I have not healed that aspect within myself. So the more you do this work, the more the universe proves to you, and you start to prove to yourself that we are literally all one, and the holographic universe theory is freaking correct. Because every single person in your life that's close to you, sorry, my throat. So look at everybody in your external reality, in your immediate reality that's close to you. And think about what aspect and personality trait in them that they mirror back at you. And you notice that the people you really love, you love them because they're mirroring back at you the aspects that you love in yourself. So if I'm hanging out with someone who's drawing all the time, and he loves to draw, and he loves art, and I really love him. I love him because I love that aspect of artist that he's mirroring back at me. So he's mirroring back at me that artist aspect of my personality. So now someone else in my life who I have extreme resistance to, which is how you figure out what is your shadow sides, are the people in your life that you have resistance to, or the people that trigger you, because they're mirroring back at you your shadow or your unhealed aspect. They're mirroring back at you an aspect of you that is unconscious. So again, shadow work just means you're unconsciously aware of this behavior or this root issue or this trauma or this energy within you. So all the people that you say you hate, you don't hate them, you hate what they're mirroring back at you. So in reality, you hate that aspect of yourself. So if you have someone in your life, like say you're a really selfish person, and you're unconscious about the fact that you're unselfish, and then you have this friend that you meet, and you love her at first, it's like, God, this is like my soulmate friendship. And then the more you get to know her, the more you see, God, she's selfish. And you start to really, really hate her. You're like, God, she's selfish. I don't even want to be her friend. I just hate her now. She's just so freaking selfish. I've never met anyone so freaking selfish, and her very presence just gets under your skin. And pretty soon you can't stand her at all. In fact, you keep projecting the fact that, God, you're so selfish, and you keep telling her all these negative things. Now, what she's doing is triggering that aspect of, she's showing you, she's mirroring back at you your own selfishness. That's all the universe is doing constantly. The universe is constantly showing you yourself. You are constantly attracting into your experience, kind of like a boomerang or a magnet. Your aura is like this magnet. And the universe or source perspective doesn't discriminate about what to send you. It's all it knows is energy, like attracts like. So if you have this selfishness aspect radiating in your aura, it's like a boomerang, and now you're going to attract that into your situation, because the universe is always sending you what you're putting out. So in your aura, if you're putting out the fact that you're selfish, you're going to eventually attract someone who's selfish to show you yourself for integration, because our souls are always looking for oneness. Our soul, that's why we're here, we're in search of oneness. We're not in search, but we are evolving into that oneness consciousness. And that's how we do that, is by being consciously aware of our shadows and our lights. And another wonderful point to doing shadow work, and it's an entire video in itself, is finding the gold in the shadow. Meaning, you not only do you suppress negative emotions and they become a shadow, is you also suppress that gift that energy had to show you, because it's just not this meaningless energy that's meant to be pushed to the side. It's meant for you to express it. There is a gift in every single aspect of your being, the light and the dark. You have so many different gifts. And an example of, I kept suppressing the fact that I had horrible depression problems. I kept suppressing and telling myself that I'm fine. I shouldn't feel that way. Oh my God, I'm just like my mother. For those of you who don't know, my mother had extreme bipolar, suicidal. Anyway, that's a long story. She's no longer with us. But her whole side of the family has mental illness. So therefore, my whole side of the family. And I always told myself, oh, I'm so lucky I didn't get it. I didn't get that mental disorder. I'm so spiritual, I bypassed that and I don't have to learn that lesson, and I'm so great because I don't have a drug addiction problem anymore, and I'm so free and I don't have to experience that. Haha, yay! Wrong. I was lying to myself. I was telling myself that I'm not allowed to feel the emotion of depression. I'm not allowed to feel suicidal, because if I feel suicidal, I'll be just like my mother. And so it was really, really, really difficult for me. I mean, just recently I own the fact that I have horrible depression problems. And instead of just keep on suppressing the fact that I wanted to kill myself, which it happened so many times where I would just internalize it and not tell anyone. I wouldn't reach out. I mean, I would never do that, but depression it's everywhere. It's a disease. It's rampant. It's real. And so many people struggle with it. And it's serious shit. And it's something that I struggle with every day. And it's serious. And for once now I can own my shadow. That was an unconscious part of me. I didn't want to own the fact that I had depression problems. Not only was unaware of it, I was unconscious of the fact that that was my shadow. Is when it started becoming more and more frequent and more apparent that I had depression problems, I finally looked at it and I was like, ugh. Okay, fine, I have depression problems. Somebody who thinks about suicide as much as I did, yeah, I think that's depression. And being completely sober and healthy, yeah, I think I got depression problems. Fuck, well, what do I do with it now that I know that I have this thing, this aspect to my personality? Again, it doesn't make me who I am on a whole scale. It's one aspect to my personality. Just like maybe you have schizophrenia or OCD or bipolar or PTSD or anxiety or a drug addiction or whatever. We all have, nobody's perfect. We all have these dark aspects to our psyche. We are both light and dark. But anyway, I finally was, through shadow work, I was able to be like, okay, I have depression. Fuck it, I'll tell the world, I have depression. Now what? What's the gold in the shadow? Shadow work, man, woman, whoever. Well, now that I dove deeper into what does having depression do for me in a positive way? What could possibly be positive about having depression? And then I realized, oh my God, I can relate with other people with depression. I can start healing circles about getting people who struggle with this same problem together, and we can talk about things. And when you get a bunch of people together, it goes in the direction of healing when it's about expressing an authentic emotion. Oh my God, I could run self-help groups and really inspire people to be honest with themselves about having depression, whether it's seasonal or once a year or every other day or every other hour, depending on how bad it is. Wow, I can do those things. And wow, because I'm so good at feeling so deeply, because for me that's a complete contrast, is experiencing suicidal thoughts. That's such a negative vibration. The contrast is extreme happiness. Well, that's cool. I get to experience that different contrast, so I can actually, and be at such a low vibration where I can reach people with that really low vibration. I mean, suicidal thoughts, you're in such a negative spiral that it's one of the lowest vibrations. It's a complete contrast from divinity and light and love. You're in complete fear. And wow, so that's actually a gift, being able to know what it's like to be in the space of light and love, but also have that ability to reach someone who experiences that same amount of trauma, so I can help raise them up or help them to express why they have suicidal thoughts, and maybe they can get themselves out of depression and heal it altogether. Wow, that's a gift. Cool, I can help people with that because I'm learning how to heal that within myself. That's a gift. That's a gold in the shadow. Cool. So now I don't have to be ashamed of the fact that I have really bad depression. I mean, and also now I'm like, well, can you blame me? I mean, I live in the city and I'm looking around, and most people, 99% of people, are unconscious and they're throwing trash out their window, and I feel so much for Mother Earth. I'm like, God, the animals! And I'm like seeing dogs run over in the road from driving, and I'm like, ah! It just kills me. I'm like, oh my God! So there's so much pain in the world where I'm like, of course, why wouldn't I have depression? Have you seen the world we live in? I mean, as much as I'm, a way shower and I'm supposed to show the way of light and love, that's not my complete path. My path led to a journey of helping people to express their darker emotions, which is very healing. So both is needed. So while you can call yourself a light worker and you're super good at channeling Jesus and raising people up, I'm super good at meeting people in a very, very, very low vibration and help them to let go and heal that trauma and meet them where they're at in the darkness. So, and it's so awesome because I'm going to brag a little bit that there's so many different signs that pointed to I embody the archetype of the death goddess, which, I mean, my number in like the traditional tarot, because I'm born on the 13th, is the death card. And the death card means death and rebirth. So I'm super, super good at helping people to die, meaning they're helping people to get rid of their ego patterns, which is shadow work. So there's a million reasons why I'm attracted to this work. I've always been darker. I've always loved metal. It doesn't mean I worship the devil, because the devil and angels are inside of you at the same time. Think about that. Heaven and hell is within us. Which reality are you going to live? So anyway, I'm going to cut this one. I already said that I'm going to cut it short, but an hour later, I'm a talker. I warned you. Okay, so I'm going to stop this, and in the next video, I'm going to talk about a meditation, a guided meditation on how to find your shadow self. Now, this meditation or this inner journey for yourself is going to be intense because it's the extreme contrast. Because most people, especially in the spiritual community, and people that are just awakened, only focus on the light. Shadow work is going back towards the trauma and the darkness and facing the darkness within to therefore come out of it more whole and integrated. So I call it Spirituality 101 is when you're first awakened. Like you've been asleep your entire life and you start to figure out, oh my God, I'm a multi-dimensional being. Oh my God, I'm psychic. Oh my God, I've had past lives. Oh my God, I'm from the stars. Oh my God, I start to remember more of who I am. Oh my God. So you're focusing on all the light aspects of yourself. And now you get further and further down that road of higher awareness, and you start to realize, wow, I've got a shitload of baggage from when I was asleep. I got a shitload of trauma that I'm still holding on to. And I'm noticing it's hindering me in progressing on my spiritual journey or my journey in everyday life. Wow, what do I do? Well, this is what shadow work is. It's spirituality 2.0, which is turning around and going back into the shadow and the trauma and the abuse and the neglect and the terror and facing it and letting it go, transcending it. Because not only does that heal you and set you free, it transcends your very DNA. There's a trillion reasons why you should do shadow work. So anyway, in my next video, I'm going to explain about meditation and seeing the extreme contrast from your higher self to your hellish self. Because extreme contrast, we live in a world of duality, and that's what shadow work is the contrast, the moon energy. All right, till next time. Bye.